She's the queen of Korea's #1 all-girls high school. She's beautiful, kind, and comes from a super wealthy family. Her yearly donations to the school are enough to buy the whole place. All the other students wanted to be friends with her. Some people even spent money to buy the seat next to her. But, among all the rich girls, she picked the poorest student in the school to be her desk partner. Everyone was curious. They wondered what kind of magic this girl, who wore a simple uniform from a rural school, had. The girl's name was Sol-ji. She had never felt like she really existed since she was a little kid. When she was 5, she went to a school event, but because she didn't have a uniform, they forgot about her at the beach. She got lost and ended up in an orphanage. Even at the orphanage, she didn't feel like she mattered. Her friends didn't tell her to come eat, and the kitchen staff never remembered to save her any food. She just scraped by, sometimes hungry, sometimes full, until she was 18. Even though she was grown up, she couldn't find a normal job because she was an orphan. Luckily, a nice senior introduced her to a part-time job. Turns out, this job involved using a fake ID to buy prescription medicine. And this experience changed Sol-ji's life. After finishing one job, the senior suddenly asked Sol-ji about her dreams. Sol-ji looked confused and said she'd never even thought about it. The senior smirked, then took out some medicine and gave it to Sol-ji, saying it was something rich. People in Gangnam were fighting over to buy. "Fim Nally," he told Sol-ji in a meaningful voice. "If you don't want to live like me, you'd better study hard from now on." For some reason, the words from this not-so-upstanding senior really convinced Sol-ji. So Sol-ji started studying hard, and her grades went from the bottom of the class all the way up to 15th place. Along with her improved grades, Sol-ji noticed that the lady in the kitchen started saving food for her, and even brought her late-night snacks when she stayed up late studying. This treatment made Sol-ji secretly think, if I get first place in the whole school, will I get even better treatment? To double her study efforts, she took the medicine the senior had given her and swallowed it all down. These pills were actually good stuff. After taking them, her ability to focus skyrocketed, and her mind had never been so clear. In this state, she got first place in the second exam. At this point, the bullies at school didn't dare to mess with her anymore. Seeing the benefits of getting first place, Sol-ji worked even harder to maintain her ranking. At the same time, she became more and more dependent on the effects of the medicine, to the point where she used her part-time job to hide a lot of it. Not long after, the orphanage found Sol-ji's biological father. She quit her part-time job and went to Seoul to reunite with her dad. 4 months later, Sol-ji transferred from her hometown to Korea's #1 all-girls high school. On her first day of school, she wore her old red uniform and dragged her suitcase to school. As soon as she entered the school, she realized that the atmosphere here was completely different from her old school. The homeroom teacher just glanced at her and told her to find her own classroom. Sol-ji, with her suitcase, was asking for directions in a school where everyone carried Chanel bags. No one even paid attention to this transfer student from the countryside. Sol-ji accidentally wandered into the auditorium, where the opening ceremony was taking place. The hall was chaotic, and there was even an old woman selling flowers. As everyone was trying to shoo the flower lady away, a girl suddenly stood up and said she wanted to buy all the flowers. Sol-ji stood quietly beside her, watching the girl buy the flowers. Then, the girl went up to the stage, and the noisy hall suddenly went silent. The girl introduced herself as J1, and then began to lead the opening ceremony in English. The audience below, including the teachers, listened quietly. Seeing this, Sol-ji immediately understood that Ji was definitely at the top of the pyramid at this high school. What Sol-ji didn't expect was that Ji was in the same class as her. The homeroom teacher greeted her warmly and told her she could choose her desk partner. The students below immediately perked up, hoping the goddess would choose them. J1, like a queen, walked around the classroom twice, carefully observing every eager gaze. Fim Nally. To everyone's surprise, Ji sat down next to this Nary, lost transfer student. "Hi, I'm Ji. I've heard about you." After school, a few people blocked Sol-ji, offering to buy her seat. Sol-ji wasn't swayed at all. She was only concerned about which seat was closest to the stage. Fim Nally. She agreed to swap seats with the girl in the middle of the class. After the two of them swapped seats, Ji suddenly came over and asked her desk partner to go get something to eat. The other girl looked at Ji excitedly, thinking she had become J1's new desk partner. But Ji took Sol-ji's hand and said those words to her. On her very first day at the elite school, this country girl had gotten the Mary Sue treatment. The school queen not only chose her as a desk partner, but also invited her to join her Queen Bee friend group. J1's two best friends looked confused. They didn't understand why Ji I would let a poor transfer student join their group. Actually, Solji had the same question. But as the conversation went on, she quickly understood Jae-won's intentions. She wanted to find out about Solji's college aspirations and her academic performance. Jae, I said, her dream was to go to medical school at Seoul National University because she wanted to carry on her father's wishes. Then, she asked Solji if she planned to apply to Seoul National University because she saw a Seoul National University keychain on Solji's bag. Actually, Solji didn't want to tell them her dream. She was afraid they'd laugh at her for being too ambitious. Then, the two best friends asked Solji where she went for extra classes. Solji stammered and said she had never taken extra classes. The two best friends were immediately stunned because everyone at the school took extra classes. Even a top student like Jae. I had signed up for 3 extra classes in math alone. Now it was Solji's turn to be shocked. She realized these students were just like her, all using a mysterious medicine to boost their brains. Solji immediately became incredibly worried. She felt like the mysterious medicine she had been using wasn't working anymore. How could she compete with these rich girls who took extra classes with famous teachers and used this mysterious medicine? After lunch, Solji went back to class to pack up her things, preparing to swap seats with the other girl. At this moment, another girl nearby told her not to change seats without Jae-won's permission, and warned her that people chosen by Jae, I wouldn't have a peaceful day. But Solji didn't believe this warning. She quickly swapped seats with the girl. Jae came back and saw this, and asked her why she was sitting there. She said she was nearsighted, and had swapped seats with a classmate to be closer to the stage. Oh really? Jae went back to her old seat. Solji even purposely watched, but didn't see any sign of displeasure from Jae-won. She thought the seat change had just passed. The long and eventful first day of school, finally ended. That afternoon, after going home, Solji quickly opened a website to buy used items and looked for a uniform. After agreeing with the seller, Solji went to the agreed-upon location to make the transaction. Having received the uniform, Solji hurried home, intending to wash the clothes immediately. The uniform was covered in some kind of unknown liquid, and there was a used condom left in the pocket. Solji was disgusted and quickly threw the clothes into the washing machine. The next day, Solji wore the clean uniform to school. However, for some reason, she felt like the other students in the class were looking at her strangely. Jae-won's new desk partner even deliberately spilled ketchup on her shirt. The mocking words around her made Solji remember her days of being bullied. At the same time, she understood the other girl's warning. People chosen by Jae, I really wouldn't have a peaceful day. A feeling of suffocation came over her, and she ran to the restroom to wash her dirty shirt. Jae came running over to comfort her and even offered her own shirt to change into. Solji was afraid that interacting with Jae would make her a target for bullying, so she firmly refused and pushed Jae away. Jae didn't force it either, threw her shirt in the trash, and left. After washing her clothes and returning to the classroom, the homeroom teacher suddenly brought in a math test, requiring them to take a 20-minute test right there in class. Solji realized that she hadn't learned any of the content on the test, and she could only answer 4 questions. Yet, Jae-won and some of the other students easily got perfect scores. After school, she hurried to ask the teacher for the answers to the test, but the teacher said that the test was used to survey the extra classes outside of school. Therefore, the answers were only explained in those extra classes. Solji was completely stunned. That meant that if she didn't take extra classes, she would fall behind. Because of the extra classes, Solji was restless and worried. During lunch, she discovered the students were holding their phones and talking about her. Solji couldn't take it anymore, threw her lunch tray down, and then snatched a phone from someone to look. Turns out, someone had posted about her buying the used uniform online. People claiming to be former students of the school were cursing at her, without holding back in the comments section. Solji was completely helpless. She couldn't figure out who was secretly following her and taking pictures. She could only pretend like nothing had happened. After school, she went to the extra classes near the school to find out about the tuition fees. The result was that the fees were so expensive that they almost made her faint. She could only take the flyers and leave. However, as she passed by a classroom, she saw the teacher explaining the answers to today's test. She took out her phone and planned to record a video, but she was caught red-handed by the admissions teacher. The teacher treated her like a freeloader and chased after her relentlessly. Fortunately, Jae-won, who was at her extra class, saw her. Jae gave Solji her hat and told her to hide on the rooftop so the teacher wouldn't catch her. Solji quickly ran up to the rooftop to hide. A moment later, it started to rain, and the sound of a door opening and footsteps echoed not far away. Solji was afraid it was the teacher, so she quickly bowed her head and covered her ears. But the person who came wasn't the teacher. Solji looked at the beautiful girl in front of her. Was she an angel or a devil? It could be said that Jai was born busy with competing. From the time her mother was pregnant, her father had summoned famous fortune tellers and psychologists from all over the country, choosing an auspicious day to have a cesarean section. Therefore, from birth, she had a good astrological chart, good health, beauty, and talent, excelling in dance, music, painting, sports. Whatever she studied, she progressed very quickly. Everyone praised her as a genius, except for one person, her father. From beginning to end, her father only said one sentence. What place did Jai get? Jai has an older sister, 1 year older than her. When Jai was in kindergarten, she could easily solve a Rubik's Cube. Her father told Jai that this world was a place where the big fish swallowed the small fish. Compassion and yielding would only cause one to fall behind. Therefore, she had to become the object of everyone's envy. Even her sister was no exception. From then on, the two sisters became competitors. Jai tried every way to keep her distance from her sister. It must be said that she treated everyone this way, as if everyone was her opponent. By chance, Jai met her first love, but unfortunately, that person couldn't enter her heart either. She was like wearing a suit of armor, and no matter what method she used, she couldn't take it off. Jai often went to church to pray, which was the most boring time of her week. Usually she prayed to repent to God, but she had nothing to repent for. Therefore, she came up with a way to do bad things, such as racing, drinking late at night, and pretending to be a bad girl in a bar. But the more bad things she did, the more she looked forward to the day of the service, and even found the church very interesting. One day, Jai dreamed that she was wearing armor and jumping into the Han River. Because the armor was too heavy, no matter how brave she couldn't do anything. Unexpectedly, at the bottom of the deep sea, she felt unusually peaceful and beautiful, and even breathed more easily than usual. Returning to reality, Jai pulled Solji and ran straight to her home hospital. Solji looked at her in a daze and followed behind her. Jai led her to the elevator and down to the basement. The luxurious furniture and amenities here made Solji couldn't help but look around. Meanwhile, Jai was leisurely sitting on a chair for the nurse to check. Solji looked at Jai, a little confused, until she saw the nurse give Jai a few pills and wished her good luck with the extra class tonight. Solji realized that Jai was preparing for the extra class. Solji couldn't help but feel poverty really did limit her imagination. Next, Jai led her to the extra classroom. While Solji was observing the room, Jai opened the cabinet and took out a new uniform that had been prepared and gave it to Solji. Solji looked at the new uniform and asked curiously. Jai told Solji to try on the clothes first and then ask. Then, she went forward and took off the old uniform on Solji. Solji couldn't refuse anymore. When Jai took off her shirt, she saw a circular scar on Solji's collarbone. Solji quickly used her collar to cover it. It was a wound from being bullied back home. Jai didn't ask many questions, as if she had guessed it. The new clothes fit Solji better than she expected. After getting dressed, Solji asked about the question in her heart. Why are you so nice to me? Because I admire you, and you haven't taken any extra classes but still get first place in the whole school. I want to know about your study method. Can you share your study method? Solji didn't expect it was for this reason. She explained that she could only get first place back home, now that she was in Seoul. She had never taken extra classes, so she didn't even understand the test questions. Jai smiled, then took out a set of test papers from the extra class and gave them to Solji. She wanted to make a deal with Solji. Later, she would give all the test papers from the extra class to Solji, and Solji had to tell her about her study methods in detail. While Solji was considering whether to agree to this beneficial deal, the voices of Jai's two best friends suddenly echoed from outside. Jai quickly put away the clothes and pulled Solji to hide in the closet. The two friends entered the room and started bad-mouthing Solji. They said Solji was Jai's new pet. The long-haired girl also said Solji was a freak. Hearing this, Jai quickly covered Solji's ears. The long-haired girl said she saw in Solji's records that her father was dead, and her mother was still alive but much younger than her father. She guessed Solji might be an illegitimate child of unknown origin. Hearing these malicious speculations, Jai smiled at Solji so she wouldn't know they were talking bad about her. At this moment, Solji's phone suddenly rang. The two best friends walked over, about to open the closet door. Jai quickly sent a text message, cleverly getting rid of them. Then, Jai took Solji out of the hospital using the private elevator. Solji gave Jai the soul National University keychain that she treasured to express her gratitude. And this keychain was left by her father. She found a phone in her father's belongings, and there was a Seoul National University keychain attached to it. However, because she didn't know the password, she still couldn't unlock the phone. At this moment, Seol-ji didn't leave the hospital immediately, but went to the hospital's funeral home. She remembered 4 months ago, Chief Fifth Nally found her father, who had been missing for 13 years. But before she could call him Dad, a strange accident had separated father and daughter. Seol-ji and her stepmother handled the funeral arrangements together. Her father's funeral home was set up in this hospital. On the day of the funeral, her father's attending doctor also came to the funeral home to pay his respects. Seol-ji really wanted to ask the man about some things about her father, but she saw the man and his daughter hugging intimately. After transferring to the new school, Seol-ji learned that the man's daughter was Jae-won. Jae-I was not only from a wealthy family, but also the queen of the school. Seol-ji was very jealous of everything Jae-I possessed. Now Jae-I took the initiative to throw her an olive branch, and Seol-ji thought that maybe she could take this opportunity to change her fate. She took the extra class test papers that Jae-I gave her and started studying by herself. However, after looking at them for a long time, she still didn't know where to start. In the end, she could only rely on a few mysterious pills to get her brain working. The medicine indeed worked immediately. She immediately figured out a solution and began to immerse herself in studying. Elsewhere, Jae-won and her 2 best friends had finished their extra class. Jae-I's father personally drove the 3 of them home. On the way, the 2 best friends kept wanting to buy things, so they got out of the car first. They didn't like being around Jae-I's father, always feeling he made people uncomfortable. After the 2 friends got out of the car, Jae-I's father suddenly asked about Seol-ji's situation. He had heard Seol-ji was very smart, so he was worried that Seol-ji would surpass Jae-won. Jae-won, you must get first place. Seol-ji is not worth worrying about. She's not my opponent. With this sentence from Jae-won, her father Effiam Nally fell silent, satisfied. The next day, as soon as she arrived in class, Seol-ji found out that Jae-won's desk partner, for some reason, wasn't coming to school. After school, Seol-ji packed her bag and went back to sit next to Jae-won. This seat is mine, right? Jae-I naturally agreed. Seol-ji returned to Jae-won's side. The most uneasy person was Jae's first short-haired friend, because Jae-I had promised to recommend her to be class president. But now Jae-I was so close to Seol-ji, she worried that Jae-I might recommend Seol-ji to be class president. Her worry quickly became reality. During the class meeting that day, Jae-I indeed recommended Seol-ji to be class president. Her words were as good as determining that Seol-ji would take power. However, to show fairness, the homeroom teacher still let everyone vote just for appearances. The result was obvious. Seol-ji received the highest number of votes and became class president, while the short-haired friend was a few votes short and came in second. She was not convinced and rushed onto the stage to check the ballots, discovering that a few ballots had handwriting that looked exactly the same. Suspecting that someone had secretly forged the ballots for Seol-ji, Seol-ji told her to just name the person, but the short-haired friend immediately shut up. No matter how uncomfortable she was, she didn't dare to expose the queen's tricks in front of everyone. In the end, she could only reluctantly become the vice president. But Jae-I still wouldn't let her go. She told the short-haired friend that she had to apologize to the class president and the whole class. The short-haired friend, who was already dissatisfied, could only grit her teeth and apologize to Seol-ji and the whole class. From then on, Seol-ji officially became the class president. After school, Seol-ji found a green letter in her mailbox. She was about to go home when she saw a pair of men's leather shoes in front of the door. Seol-ji quietly put the letter down and left. She went to the park to continue trying the passwords of the phone. In the evening, as soon as Seol-ji got home, Jae-I texted her and told her to invite guests to celebrate her becoming class president. Seol-ji didn't refuse. She arranged to meet Jae-I at a karaoke bar. As for the short-haired friend, she took the ballots home to examine them carefully. At this time, her mother had just returned to the office, ready to start work, when she found out that her daughter had only become the vice president. In front of the mother who had been class president for 12 school years, she felt even more ashamed. Suddenly, she noticed the documents her mother brought back. There was a document related to the case of Seol-ji's father. Jae-won's father was also in trouble. The family of a patient refused to sign the settlement agreement, and it was very likely they would file a lawsuit. Mr. Kang said that the patient was unconscious when they arrived at the hospital. Despite resuscitation, they didn't survive. Furthermore, he wasn't worried. After all, the patient's family only had a mother and child, and life would certainly be difficult. Just giving them more settlement money would solve the matter. At this time, Solji waited and waited at the agreed location, but didn't see Ji arrive. She didn't know that Ji was at a restaurant on the second floor, watching Solji in the rain with interest, as if she was taking a test of obedience. Half an hour later, Solji entered the karaoke room alone. After singing a few songs, Ji suddenly barged in. Actually, Solji was used to the feeling of being abandoned and isolated. Even if Ji didn't come, she wouldn't feel disappointed. But it was precisely because Ji came that this feeling became even more special. To put it a little too strongly, perhaps Solji realized that someone could pull her out of the dark abyss. On the way home, Solji finally mustered the courage to say the words in her heart, that she was always easily forgotten by others. So she often didn't wait, fearing that she would only receive emptiness in the end. Ji solemnly promised, "I can't be sure about others, but if it's you, I will definitely come." Solji's heart was a little sour, but also sweet. Then, Ji invited Solji to her house to spend the night. Solji was still hesitating when Ji took her hand and pulled her home. Ji-won's house was so large that the end couldn't be seen. As soon as they went upstairs, they met Ji's first dog. Solji realized that Ji also had a sister. Then, Ji led Solji to her room. Her room was like a vast ocean, quiet and dreamy. Solji dreamed of having such a dream room. At this moment, Ji's dog brought in a princess dress. Seeing the princess dress, Solji suddenly remembered the past and emotionally told Ji about getting lost when she was little. Ji's first comforting words then made Solji unload all the burdens in her heart. Solji's confession of her pain brought her closer to Ji-won. The two were no longer strangers like before. Ji took off her clothes in front of Solji, wanting to bathe and sleep with her. Solji turned her face away, wanting to look but not daring to look too much. Scented candles, expensive bath milk, a dreamy large bathtub, the most luxurious things of the upper class. Solji had grown up in this school, and this was the first time she had bathed with someone else. She was embarrassed and didn't know where to look. "Is this your first time?" Solji was asked like that, and she stammered. "Why is your face so red?" Ji slowly moved closer. The eyes of the two met, and the emotions were indescribable. She didn't know when, but the hand gently placed on Solji's lips, a fleeting kiss like a dragonfly skimming the water. After that, everything went out of control. Elsewhere, the short-haired friend was still resentful about the class president situation. She was secretly looking at the lawsuit documents that her mother had brought back late at night. The case in the lawsuit was a medical malpractice case, and the defendant was Ji-won's father. The short-haired friend's eyes immediately lit up, feeling this could become Ji-won's weakness. At the same time, the long-haired friend told her that she had heard that Ji-won's old desk partner had to move for some reason. The long-haired friend felt this must be related to Ji-won. At this time, Solji couldn't sleep, awakened by memories. It was a little early for the month, and Solji's stomach hurt a little. She went to the bathroom and used Ji's sanitary pad. Turning to look at the bathtub, Solji was a little dazed, and after a long while, returned to the bedroom. She accidentally heard a message coming from Ji-won's phone. She peeked, discovering it was a message from her old desk partner. The old desk partner said she would apologize to Solji and would also transfer schools immediately, begging Ji-won to delete the video. Seeing this message, Solji began to worry. She was afraid that Ji had also taken some kind of video of her, so she secretly picked up Ji's phone to take a peek. Halfway through, her pupils contracted. What shocking secret had Solji seen after all? This was the first time the genius rich girl, Ji-won, ever got second place. Her 800-word essay only got 90 points, while the top score went to her deskmate, Solji, a new student who had just moved from the countryside. The moment the teacher announced the scores, the group of wealthy girls below were all so shocked. Their mouths dropped open. Right after that, they demanded the teacher read Solji's essay out loud to everyone. But the teacher immediately refused, because the essay's content was about Solji's personal life, and it wasn't appropriate to share it publicly. Ji's close friend, Choi Yeon, stirred everyone up to pressure Solji into making the essay public. Solji didn't respond, and just put the essay in her bag. However, after class, Ji couldn't hold back and asked Solji what she had actually written. Solji casually said, "Nothing special," and then changed the subject. Actually, in the essay, Solji had written about her tragic family background. Ji had known about this before Solji transferred to the school. It turned out that the night before, when Solji stayed over at Ji-won's house, she accidentally discovered that Ji-won's phone had a lot of detailed information about her and her parents, including her father's resume, all of her exam scores, and even a missing person flyer from when Solji was lost as a child. In other words, Ji had all the information about Solji and her family in her hands. This shocked Solji terribly. She didn't understand why Ji had this information and what her purpose was. Solji continued scrolling through the photo album and saw a video of Ji threatening her previous deskmate. In the video, Ji said she would expose the girl's drug use, which made the girl terrified and beg, not knowing what she had done to anger Ji. Ji said that as long as the girl transferred schools, she would delete the video. After watching the video, Solji felt extremely uneasy. She transferred these photos and videos to her own phone, and then quietly left Jaewon's house in the middle of the night. As for her friend Choi Yeon, she was searching for the case related to Solji's father. That day, he was taken to the hospital because of a stomachache, and he ultimately died from acute septicemia. But online, there were quite a few medical staff saying that there were mistakes that led to the patient's death, and that medical staff member was also convicted. Thinking about this, her mood improved significantly. The next morning, when Ji woke up and didn't see Solji, she wasn't worried at all, because last night she had secretly installed a tracker on Solji's phone. Now, no matter where Solji was, she knew exactly. However, when she got to school, Ji saw that Solji seemed to be upset. She rushed over and asked Solji why she had left without saying anything. Solji made the excuse that her mother had suddenly called her to come home. The two of them went to the office and happened to see Jaewon's former deskmate, who was processing her transfer. Solji suddenly wanted to test Jaewon's attitude toward that girl, so she suggested they go say goodbye. Unexpectedly, Ji acted like nothing had happened, went up and politely said goodbye to the girl and her mother. After lunch, when they returned to class, Solji discovered that her essay was missing. Ji immediately told everyone to help look for it. Everyone found copies of the essay, placed in their desks, and started reading them out of curiosity. When Ji saw this, she rushed over to collect them one by one. She wouldn't allow anyone to read it if the owner of the essay didn't agree. After reading the essay's content, Ji thought that someone must have deliberately distributed it. She angrily said that she would definitely help Solji find this person. Solji, however, was very calm and asked Ji why she was so angry. Before Ji could explain, Solji directly exposed her. Solji took out the files she had saved last night and placed them in front of Jaewon. Ji scrolled to the saved video and then realized that Solji had deliberately tested her in the office earlier, but she wasn't remorseful at all and even thought that she had helped Solji get rid of a bully. Solji said that what she wanted to know most now was why Ji had her father's belongings and documents, whether her father's death was related to Ji or not, but Ji didn't explain. Seeing Ji being so smug, Solji said outright that she had put the copies of her essay in everyone's desks, deliberately letting everyone know about her pitiful situation. This action by Solji was beyond Jaewon's expectations, and that was exactly her purpose, to prove that Ji didn't understand her at all. After Solji's essay spread through the class, everyone was talking about her circumstances. Her friend Choi Yeon, who didn't like Solji, took this opportunity to take her out of the classroom. Solji directly asked her what she wanted. Choi Yeon said that she knew Solji's father was the school's test creator, and she also knew that he died at Jaewon's family's hospital. But that wasn't the most important thing. She also knew that Solji's stepmother was suing Jaewon's father for medical malpractice that led to Solji's father's death. Solji was stunned when she heard this, because she had absolutely no idea that her stepmother was suing Jaewon's father. Choi Yeon said that her mother was the lawyer in charge of this case, so she knew so much. She continued to tell Solji that Jaewon's father wanted to quickly settle with her stepmother, but Solji's stepmother didn't agree. Choi Yeon speculated that Jaewon's father wanted to break the deadlock, so he arranged for his daughter to deliberately approach Solji, with the aim offering a settlement at the right time. Solji recalled every detail from the beginning of her acquaintance with Jaewon until now, and she felt that Ji had indeed approached her with a purpose. But Solji didn't understand why Choi Yeon was telling her all of this. What was her real purpose? Choi Yeon admitted that it was probably because of her inferiority complex towards Jaewon first, because from elementary school until now, she had never been able to surpass Jaewon. Recalling elementary school, there was a hateful girl named Ji. She was very good at studying, but her weakness was her sharp tongue. She often mocked Choi Yeon, saying that doing a lot of exercises didn't necessarily mean getting high scores, or criticizing her drawings, advising her to take extra lessons. Choi Yeon was so angry that she grabbed Ji's hair, and they fought. Later, even though Ji's family's business failed, and they had to go to England to study, she was still arrogant until the very end. After the hateful top student in the class left, Choi Yan thought she could take her place. But the transfer student who arrived was even more outstanding than Hyun Ji. Jae was both smart and beautiful, and she was also very popular. She was the student council president, and Choi Yan was only the vice president. On the surface, the two were a perfect pair, until that day, when the boy who sat next to them asked Choi Yan to go eat spicy rice cakes after school, on the condition that she bring Jae along. The boy's eyes never left Jae, even after the date. When Choi Yan was about to confess her feelings, he even asked Choi Yan for Jae-won's contact information. Class vice president, student council vice president, club vice president, vice everything. It felt like, as long as Jae was there, Choi Yan could never escape the vice title. Second to one, above many, wasn't that just being second place forever? Inside, she secretly competed with Jae, and their friendship gradually changed. Right at this moment, Choi Yan suddenly got period cramps. She asked Sol-ji for painkillers, but Sol-ji said she never took painkillers because she didn't have money to buy them, and then held Choi Yan's hand and massaged it for her. Feeling the warmth from Sol-ji, the two made up and became friends. At this time, Jae texted wanting to meet Sol-ji and said, "If you don't come, you'll regret it." Sol-ji ignored her threat and went straight home. When she got home, she really wanted to ask her stepmother about the lawsuit, but she hesitated and didn't ask. The next day, she took advantage of her stepmother being out of the house to rummage through everything, only finding a 500 million won insurance policy and the green envelope she brought home last time. Inside were 3 cards, on which was written Karma. There is no permanent secret in the world. And she wondered why her husband did die. Who sent the letter? What did the sender's words mean? Sol-ji suspected that the reason her stepmother was hiding the lawsuit was to demand compensation from the hospital in the name of her father's daughter. But why did she insist on bringing her from the orphanage to Seoul? After saying all her doubts, Sol-ji realized that her attitude wasn't very good. And besides, she still had to stay here temporarily. So she obediently apologized to her stepmother. The next day at school, the teacher announced the midterm exam schedule. Sol-ji immediately became stressed, because she knew the exam questions would definitely come from the workbooks, from the outside tutoring classes. But she had just had a fight with Jae first, and without her providing the workbooks, she didn't know how she would pass this exam. While worrying about the workbooks, she discovered that her brain-boosting pills were out. Without the pills, she was even less confident about the exam. Therefore, she had to run around to various pharmacies to buy them. But since it was a prescription drug, without a doctor's prescription, Sol-ji couldn't buy it. We can see how crazy Korean high school students are about studying. To get high scores on the midterm exam, some chew brain-boosting pills like candy. Some are even more extreme, undergoing surgery to prevent menstruation from affecting their studies. The main character, Sol-ji, was really in a bind at this moment. Helpless, Sol-ji had to find a seller online. And unexpectedly, she actually found one. But the seller asked her for a password. Sol-ji saw that the seller's avatar was a picture of a paper crane, and she remembered a girl in her class who had also given her a paper crane like that. She hurriedly opened the crane and, sure enough, there was a sequence of numbers inside. She sent the numbers, and it matched the password. And then she quickly contacted the seller. The seller told her to go to a nearby locker in an hour to deposit the money and pick up the goods. This girl was only responsible for collecting buyer information. The real seller was someone else. Sol-ji went to the locker on time to deposit the money. That evening, a person wearing a hoodie secretly broke into the hospital's medicine storage room. That person skateboarded to the transaction point, conveniently exchanging the money for the goods. But unexpectedly, Sol-ji blocked the person's path. This person didn't try to avoid her, but instead removed the disguise. Surprisingly, the drug seller was Jae. She even thoughtfully said that the type of medicine Sol-ji was using was out of stock, and she had prepared a stronger one for her. Sol-ji was confused inside. She chased after Jae to return the medicine. Jae sarcastically said that if she didn't take the medicine, Sol-ji wouldn't be able to do well on the exam. Moreover, Sol-ji didn't have the workbooks from the tutoring classes, making it even harder to pass the exam. Sol-ji hesitated. Jae skateboarded around her, and seeing her dilemma, she made a condition. If Sol-ji scored higher than her on the exam, she would tell Sol-ji the purpose of collecting her information. This tactic seemed very effective. Sol-ji was clearly wavering. Jae immediately took out the workbook she had prepared and gave it to her. Sol-ji tremblingly took the book, as if agreeing with Jae first, and then went back to the locker to get the medicine. This pill was indeed different from the one she had taken before. As soon as she took it, a surge of power rushed straight to her head. At the same time, her friend Yi Ri had sold Solzi's essay to the tutoring class, earning 1,000,000 won. For her living expenses, this amount was just a drop in the bucket. She decided to get a part-time job at a bar. The interviewer told her that there were many girls her age in this industry, and once they got involved, they couldn't get out, giving her time to think. Before leaving, she happened to see a man searching everywhere for a girl, and she recognized the person in the photo. So the next morning, Yi Ri deliberately created a chance encounter with Jae-won's father. She said directly that although she wasn't good at studying, she had one strength over her peers. She knew exactly where to make a lot of money. Right after that, she changed to a serious expression and took out her phone from her pocket. "You're looking for him, nah, right?" Jae-won's father saw the photo of his eldest daughter, and his expression immediately changed. Yi Ri muttered to herself, "Everyone thinks your eldest daughter is somewhere studying for the college entrance exam. But it seems that's not the case. Even her sister Jae doesn't know the truth." She started hinting, knowing that he was quick to understand the situation. Jae-won's father understood Yi Ri's meaning and agreed to sponsor her. But first, she needed to show some corresponding sincerity. The reason Yi Ri developed this nosy, meddling personality was all learned from her mother. At that time, her mother thought that only by raising her daughter, who loved to act, to become a star, could the two of them have a chance to change their lives. However, the child had no talent, and no matter how much she flattered the director, it was useless. From then on, Yi Ri's personality changed drastically. She started disobeying her mother and loved to show off. She created an image of herself as a rich young lady on social media. To have money to buy designer goods, she gradually became interested in collecting other people's dirty secrets. The photo of SEO Yoonji trading used uniforms was also taken secretly by her. Back to school. Today, the official exam began. Before the exam, Solji only took one pill and felt clearer-headed than ever before. When she started doing the exam, Suji was even more surprised to find that the exam questions completely matched the workbook Jae had given her. Just by copying the answers she had memorized, Solji could get a perfect score. She glanced at Jae-won, who winked at her. Thanks to this, Solji easily completed the exam. Looking at the scoreboard announcing the results, you can see that Solji, a girl who transferred from the countryside to the city, won first place in the whole school on her very first exam, making the group of genius rich girls furious, because they spend huge amounts of money on expensive tutoring classes every month. Yet they lost to a country girl who had never even heard of tutoring classes. Solji looked at her name next to Jae-won's in a tie for first place, and she wasn't happy at all, because she knew very well that this achievement was due to cheating, thanks to the hacking software that Jae gave her, a super strong brain-boosting pill, and the workbook from the tutoring class. Both of them achieved perfect scores, tying for first place in the school. But before she could celebrate, Solji was surrounded by suspicion. Everyone knew the exam questions came from the tutoring class workbook, and Solji didn't go to tutoring. Yet she came in first. Solji could only lower her head and quietly leave the crowd. At this time, an uninvited guest came looking for Solji. It was the person who had sold her the medicine before. He came to inquire about the whereabouts of someone, a senior who was close to Solji. Solji had received a call from the senior, but had blocked the number because she didn't want to have anything to do with people from her past, and she didn't want to be involved with him anymore. Therefore, she lied and said she didn't know anything. Unexpectedly, he pulled out a knife and threatened her, warning her not to lie and not to treat him like a fool. He knew Solji got first place by taking the medicine. He demanded that Solji pay off the debt for the medicine. Fim Nally. He warned that he would be back next week to collect the money. Solji felt exhausted. Before she could recover from that shock, the school delivered another heavy blow. The school announced that the top 20 students would have a health checkup at Jae-won's family's hospital. This was normally a good benefit, but for Solji, it was like a ticking time bomb, because the health checkup would definitely detect that she had used illegal drugs. Solji rushed to the office, asking the teachers to cancel the health checkup, but was refused. She was told that if she didn't have the checkup, her exam results would be invalidated. Solji was helpless and had to grit her teeth and get on the bus to the hospital. When she got on the bus, Jae signaled for her to sit with her, but Solji coldly and deliberately sat in the back. At the hospital, the first thing was a urine test. Solji held the sample cup, anxiously pacing back and forth in the bathroom. Suddenly, she met the girl who had given her the paper crane. The girl looked at Solji meaningfully. Solji was flustered and didn't know what to do. Just then, Jae texted her to go to the hospital rooftop, saying she had something that could help her. Without hesitation, Sol Z ran straight to the rooftop. She realized that she could never escape the control of this friend, named J1. I stood with her back to her on the rooftop. After Solji put down the sample cup, she knelt down in front of J1 and begged her for help. I was really so stupid. From the uniform, the tutoring center, to the midterm exam. You did everything to make me kneel before you, and yet I didn't know it and fought against you. Whatever you want, I'll do it. Sol Z said she would convince her stepmother to settle with J1's father, in exchange for J.I. helping her get through this checkup. Unexpectedly, J.I. said that a settlement was something she didn't want at all. Sol Z begged her. She couldn't let this checkup ruin her path to Seoul National University. J.I. came closer, reached out and pulled Solji to her feet, saying that she had always tried to keep her safe, even now. Then she gave Solji another urine sample cup. She then said words to encourage Solji's spirit, that she got a perfect score not because of her medicine, but because of her own inherent ability. J.I. said that she was very happy that Solji tied with her for first place. The others didn't like it, but she felt very happy, because it was her. At this time, Solji suddenly remembered the previous challenge. According to the agreement, now J.I. had to tell her why she had her records, and what the purpose of that was. Why did she collect all the information about her family? Solji suspected J.I. had bad intentions towards her. But J.I. frankly said that she had seen that information in her father's office. She knew that it was normal for her father to collect information for lawsuits, but the documents about Solji and Solji's stepmother were unusually extensive. J.I. suspected her father had some kind of plot, so she took pictures of everything. Solji was skeptical about this explanation, but J.I. had actually helped her get through the health checkup, and she had also promised to obey her. So she agreed to temporarily maintain this relationship with J1, and the two returned to the hospital and joined the other students in experiencing deep sleep. A few hours later, J.I. woke up first and discovered that Yi-ri had stolen Solji's locker key and gone out. J.I. intended to follow her to see what was going on, but was stopped by the nurse. J.I. immediately called the girl, who folded paper cranes, telling her to follow Yi-ri tonight and report Yi-ri's every move to her. The evening was the annual School Foundation Day celebration, and all the actors in the drama came, including the senior who was blackmailing Solji for money. He disguised himself as a high school student and sneaked into the school to find Solji to demand money. Solji and J.I. were having a lot of fun at the celebration. J.I. took Solji to meet Choi-yeon's mother. The two ate grilled meat and drank Coke at Choi-yeon's mother's stall. J.I.'s father immediately rushed over to scold J.I. for eating and drinking carelessly, but Solji argued with him every step of the way. For the first time, J.I. saw her father so angry that his face was distorted, and J.I. was extremely excited and happy inside. At this time, the girl who folded paper cranes texted to report that Yi-ri was holding a phone that she didn't know who it belonged to, and was looking everywhere for a charger to charge the phone. J.I. told her to continue following Yi-ri to see who the phone in Yi-ri's hand really belonged to. Yi-ri took the phone and went into the bathroom. Her classmate Byung-soo was also there, so Yi-ri used the bait of introducing her to a handsome guy, asking her to find a matching charger. Hearing about a handsome guy, Byung-soo's eyes immediately lit up, and she ran back to the classroom building. Rummaging through each student's bag, Yi-ri took the phone and wandered around the school. Next to the interaction tent, she happened to meet Choi-yeon, and excitedly pushed Choi-yeon into the tent, insisting on introducing her to a 1.80-meter tall athlete. As a result, she accidentally pushed the drug-selling senior into the interaction with Choi-yeon. Choi-yeon and the senior were separated by a wall, neither of them seeing each other. The sharp-eyed senior saw Choi-yeon fidgeting through the small window, and seeing that she was showing signs of having back pain, he guessed that Choi-yeon needed a pain relief patch. So, he gave Choi-yeon the pain relief patch, and said, if Choi-yeon wanted more patches like that, she should ask Sul-ji in the 12th grade. After saying that, the senior left the tent. Just as the senior went out, Yi-ri also happened to see a matching charging cable under the table of the interaction tent. She immediately took the phone, plugged it in, and walked out of the tent. Choi-yeon quickly asked Yi-ri about the senior, but Yi-ri said that she didn't know him either. Choi-yeon felt that something was wrong, so she took out her phone and called Sol-ji to ask. She called many times, but Sol-ji didn't answer, because at this time, Sol-ji and J.I. were playing happily in the ball pit. Accidentally, their eyes met affectionately. J.I. slowly moved closer to Sol-ji, but then nothing happened between them. After having fun in the ball pit, Sol-ji also spoke her true feelings, that she still didn't trust her very much, but getting first place with her, she felt very happy. because that person was her, Ji. Ji felt really happy after hearing this. Then both of them watched dazzling fireworks together. Inside both of them, they felt unspeakable emotion. In another development, the girl who folded paper cranes was still following Yi-ri. She saw Yi-ri going in and out of the interaction tent continuously, but not carrying the phone. Right after that, Yi-ri received a call and went to the parking lot to meet someone. The person she met was Jae-won's father. The girl who folded paper cranes quickly hid nearby to film and eavesdrop. It turned out that Jae-won's father had made a deal with Yi-ri that if she stole Solji's phone, he would sponsor her with a large amount of money. Yi-ri had stolen a phone at the hospital today, but she discovered that the phone Jae's first father asked her to steal was not the phone Solji usually used. Yi-ri opened it and discovered that it was the phone of the test-setting teacher who had died. In other words, what Jae-won's father wanted Yi-ri to steal was the deceased teacher's belongings. Although she didn't know the relationship between Solji and the test-setting teacher, Yi-ri used the excuse that she had stolen the belongings to blackmail Jae-won's father for an additional fee for her hard work. Jae's father, wanting to get the phone, had to agree. Yi-ri happily went back to the tent to get the phone. The girl who folded paper cranes immediately sent the video she had filmed to Jae-won and told her that it was the test-setting teacher's phone and was currently being charged in the interaction tent. I watched the video and immediately left Solji to go get the phone. Just as Jae left, Choi Yeon came to complain about Solji not answering her phone. She opened her bag and discovered that her father's phone was missing. She hurriedly searched all over the school. Meanwhile, Jae rushed into the tent, got the phone, and hid in the bathroom to check it. Yi-ri came back and saw that the phone was gone. Just as she discovered Solji was looking for her phone, Yi-ri and Jae's first father also played the role of good people helping Solji. Accidentally, the two of them looked at each other, and Solji felt that something was wrong. She sensed that Yi-ri and Jae-won's father were acting strangely. Just then, Beom-soo came with the charging cable, excitedly urging Yi-ri to introduce her to some handsome guys. Yi-ri annoyedly pushed her aside to look for the phone. After entering the password for a while, Jae finally unlocked the phone. At this time, Jae discovered the video that her father had sent to Solji's father. In the video, two people dressed sloppily were her older sister and Solji's father. Jae was completely surprised because her older sister hadn't been home for a long time. Her father said that her sister, because she failed the university entrance exam, was hiding somewhere to study again. Now it seemed that her father had lied. What had her sister gone through that made her disappear? Jae compared the video and found that classroom. She was about to look for clues when she heard a commotion downstairs. It turned out that Beom-soo was unhappy because she was tricked by Yi-ri and she was holding a knife, gradually cornering Yi-ri. Why do you all look down on me? Who lied to you? Who's the slow one? Delusional too? No wonder Jae broke up with you. Hearing this, Beom-soo glanced at Solji. Provoked, Beom-soo used the knife to injure Yi-ri's hand and then moved towards Solji. Thinking that her appearance was what made Jae break up with her, Beom-soo stabbed towards Solji. Solji was stabbed in the arm and fell to the ground. Witnessing this scene, Jae-won's father revealed a smile that was hard to notice. Jae wanted to go downstairs to see what was happening, but unexpectedly, at this moment, someone entered. Jae was stunned. The person took off the hood, and Jae discovered that it was her older sister who hadn't been home for a long time. Im-na was just as good as Jae. When they were little, and the two sisters were competing, Im-na secretly erased her own correct answers, just because she'd rather get spanked than let her younger sister get hit. Every time she heard her parents fighting, little Im-na always prioritized protecting her younger sister, Jae-won, even when she heard her parents arguing over who would get custody of her sister, while she was at risk of being the one left behind. To avoid being abandoned, Im-na tried her best to be a perfectly well-behaved child, taking care of the broken family. But because of her parents' split, the relationship between the two sisters grew further and further apart. When Im-na realized this, she started praying, asking God to let her get a serious illness, so that someone would feel sorry for her. Maybe her prayers were answered, because just a little later, Im-na collapsed. She was taken to the hospital for tests, and that's when she found out she had narcolepsy. She thought Jae would be there for her, but Jae was indifferent to her sister's condition, only focused on going to her extra classes. Her dad seemed to care, being attentive and kind, blaming himself for getting frustrated when he saw Im-na dozing off while studying, and even promised to support her from behind. But really, he just wanted Im-na to get over her illness and try to do well in math. That so-called support from behind was actually terrifying. Every time she was in class, Imna had hallucinations, seeing her dad staring at her. Sulji's dad was Imna's homeroom teacher, and he also advised her to take care of her health. But Imna only noticed the Korea University keychain on his phone. She tried to ask for a keychain like that, thinking that just looking at the keychain and taking more medicine would motivate her to study. But Imna started having constant insomnia. In desperation, she made a bad decision. Late at night, she broke into the school's secret room, rummaged through everything to steal the exam paper. Unexpectedly, she was caught by Sulji's dad. Right at that moment, her narcolepsy kicked in. When she woke up, the first thing Imna did was beg Sulji's dad to keep it a secret. Since it was her first offense, he wasn't planning to press charges. He just asked why Imna did it. Imna then hugged him tightly and cried. During their struggle, he accidentally activated Imna's watch. The hidden camera started recording. And even more unexpectedly, Imna's dad used this video to blackmail the teacher who set the exam. After that, the teacher who set the exam suddenly died mysteriously, and Imna also disappeared without a trace. Going back to the earlier events, Ji accidentally picked up the exam-setting teacher's phone and discovered the sensitive video of her sister with the teacher. Suddenly, Imna appeared and demanded that her sister give her the phone. Her sister refused, and the two sisters struggled, causing the phone to fall down to a lower level. Imna, ignoring the danger, jumped down to find the phone, but she couldn't find it and was spotted by security. To hide her identity, she had to run away. Finally, the phone was found by Jae first in a bush. Ji hid the phone, planning to go back and find her friend, but discovered that the school had been locked down at all the gates and announced that all students should return to their classrooms and wait for instructions. Imna followed a male student who climbed over the wall to get out of school. Ji went back to the scene of the school anniversary celebration and asked her friend what had happened. Her friend said that Byung-soo had attacked Sulji, and she had been taken to the hospital by Jae-won's dad. Hearing that, Jae-i's face changed, fearing that her dad would harm Sulji, so she immediately climbed over the wall to get out of school and ran straight to the hospital. Meanwhile, the school started checking the belongings of each student. According to Byung-soo's statement, she had taken stimulants that led to her attacking Sulji. To cover up the incident, the principal ordered the homeroom teachers to confiscate all drugs and prohibited items. Unhappy with the school's handling of the situation, Choi Yeon secretly hid the weapon, intending to report it to the police, but unexpectedly, her mother found out on their way home. The mother scolded her and grabbed the weapon, not allowing her daughter to get involved in this. Because her mother was a lawyer, she understood the law well, knowing that people like Jae-won's dad were very good at manipulating the law, so she couldn't let her daughter get involved. Arriving at the hospital, Jae happened to see her dad stitching up Sulji's wound. The girl approached, looked at Sulji, and then gently took her hand. The warm feeling from Sulji's hand finally confirmed to her that Sulji was still alive. Her dad wanted his daughter to stitch up Sulji's wound herself, saying that it would be very helpful for her application to medical school later. He recounted his first time practicing stitching on pigskin while in medical school, but because the pigskin was too thick and of uneven quality, it made him very frustrated. It wasn't until he got to stitch on a real human corpse, soft and elastic, that the numb feeling in his hands that night made him so excited he couldn't sleep. But he commented that Sulji's skin didn't have enough fat, not a bit of elasticity, as if she was malnourished. I silently listened to her dad's crazy-sounding words, completely unable to guess his thoughts. Because she was worried that her dad would harm Sulji, I decided to put on the gloves she had prepared and stitch up Sulji's wound herself. At this time, her stepmother rushed to the hospital without being informed, and she was very displeased to see Jae performing surgery on the patient without permission. Moreover, she was suing Jae's dad, so the two of them were considered mortal enemies. But it was late, and they couldn't find another hospital to transfer her to, so the stepmother had to agree to let Sulji stay in the hospital temporarily. While pushing the hospital bed, she brushed Jae's hand away and left without a word. After finishing treating Sulji's wound, Jae wearily returned home. The girl who sold the drugs called Jae-won, fearing the consequences of selling the drugs to Byung-soo. Jae blamed her for dealing directly with Byung-soo, leading to the current situation. What's done is done. As long as they don't say anything, no one will know. But the girl who sold the drugs reminded her that Sulji also knew about it. Jae angrily threw the phone down. She had to go and test Sulji's attitude. At this time, a video of Byung-soo attacking Sulji was posted online by someone, causing a public uproar. There were even rumors that the school's high university acceptance rate was due to students collectively using stimulants. Waking up, Solji also saw this video. At this time, Ji brought her puppy to the hospital to visit Solji. She ran up and hugged Solji tightly, as if hugging a treasure she had just found again. Actually, I had always thought about the image of her beloved puppy dying. Because she cared so much, she always had to prepare herself mentally to avoid being heartbroken when it actually happened. And recently, she had also started to imagine the image of Solji, the person she cared about most, dying. The two were silent for a moment. Then Solji asked Ji if she had seen her other phone. She pretended to say she hadn't. Solji explained that it was her dad's phone, and she hadn't had a chance to unlock it before it was lost. Then, Solji asked Ji if she knew her dad. She said she knew him, but had never taken his class. And then Ji asked back, what if Solji's dad wasn't a good person? After all, there were rumors that he was having an affair with a student. But if that were the case, shouldn't Solji be relieved? If her dad was a good person, she should feel even more burdened. Just by proving that her dad wasn't as good as she thought, Ji believed that Solji would feel less psychological pressure. But Solji got angry at these words. Before leaving, she said, not everyone lives like you. At this time, the hospital gates were closed. Solji looked for the emergency exit and happened to see Jaewon's dad and a few staff members loading a body-shaped bag into a car. After they left, Solji went back to the hospital. At this time, a senior called Solji, asking if she had seen that other student lately. Solji was about to answer when she saw a bag in her room that looked exactly like the one she had just seen. She approached, and a foot fell out of the bag. Solji was terrified. Behind her, there were footsteps. Right after that, a man suddenly appeared behind her. It was Jaewon's dad. Solji panicked and tried to run away, but the door wouldn't open. Jaewon's dad calmly explained that these were all unclaimed, anonymous corpses. He was in charge of receiving and burying them, and sometimes he also used them for practice. These corpses were already a headache for the community, and burying them individually would cost a lot of tax money. So what Jae's dad was doing was a good deed. He told Solji suggestively, if she wanted to go into the medical field, she couldn't be afraid of blood and organs. Of course, the prerequisite was that she had to be a good girl and pass the university entrance exam. After saying that, he opened the door for Solji to leave the operating room. After arguing with Solji at the hospital, Jae returned home. On the way, she was startled by her sister, who suddenly appeared. Her sister begged her to hand over the exam, setting teacher's phone. She planned to use the video to prove that their dad had killed the teacher. Jae was shocked to hear this. She hadn't expected her dad to actually harm the exam-setting teacher. Her sister said that she could testify, so she really needed the video on the phone as evidence. Moreover, she had promised the teacher's family that she would give them the truth. Jae agreed to give her sister the phone, but wanted to wait for the right time. Then, she gave her sister a phone to keep in touch. The next day, Jae was discharged from the hospital and went to school. But she didn't know that the police had come to the school to investigate the attack from the previous night. The police called each student in the class one by one for questioning. Jae had just arrived at school when she was stopped by the homeroom teacher and taken to the office. In the office, Byung-soo's family and lawyer were already waiting. They weren't there to apologize to Jae-won, but instead, they were aggressive, forcing Jae-won, who was an orphan, to accept a settlement. Jae had to call her stepmother to the school. Her stepmother stood by Jae-fir's side, firmly refusing to settle. Seeing how tough the two of them were, Byung-soo's family then turned around and said that Jae had sold prohibited drugs to their daughter, saying that Jae gave her some special drugs and told her to mix and drink, said her grades will improve. The homeroom teacher also joined in, blaming Jae the first. Jae-won and her stepmother tried their best to deny it, but no one cared. The principal even threatened to expel Jae-won if she didn't admit guilt. At this time, the police came to take Solji in for questioning. Solji thought the police would listen to her explanation, but unexpectedly, the police also suspected Solji of stealing drugs to sell to Byung-soo, because someone reported her for stealing drugs at the hospital on the day of the health checkup. Security camera footage showed her hanging around near the pharmacy. Solji immediately realized that the person who reported her was most likely Jae-won, because it was Jae-won who had told her to go through the pharmacy to get to the rooftop. She was incredibly disappointed. To clear her name, Solji accused Jae-won and Ra, which is the girl who folded paper cranes, of being the real drug dealers. The school quickly received the report from the police, but they didn't dare to take any drastic action. The homeroom teacher called Ra in to talk, and Ra went back and told Jae about Solji's accusation. However, Jae wasn't worried at all. She thought she could handle everything. But unexpectedly, her dad was one step ahead. Her dad seemed to be planning to sacrifice Solji to settle things. I was worried that her dad would expel Solji, ruining her chance to go to university. So she decided to find Solji to talk. But Solji didn't want anything to do with her anymore, even after learning about the betrayal. However, I wasn't angry at all, and even praised Solji for doing a good job. At this time, the senior suddenly appeared at the classroom, looking for Solji. Because Solji wasn't answering her phone, he had to come in person. Solji was stared at by everyone as he pulled her out of the classroom. The senior told Solji that he had thought of a way to help her pay off her debt quickly. He heard that the drug dealer in the Seoul area was a high school girl, and suggested that Solji steal her territory. He asked Solji if she had ever bought drugs in the Seoul area. Solji truthfully admitted that she had, but didn't reveal that the sellers were Jae-won and Ra. The senior immediately asked her to place an order to lure the seller out. Solji had to listen to the senior, and forwarded the account to him to contact the seller. The senior told Solji that the seller had set the transaction at locker number 4 at the subway station. Solji received the message and felt uneasy, because she wasn't sure if the person making the delivery was Ra or Jae-won. After school, she and the senior went to the subway station together. The senior followed behind, planning to catch the seller. At the same time, Ra confessed to Jae-won first that she had received Solji's order and had reported the police to arrest Solji. She wanted to pin the drug dealing on Solji. I was furious when she heard this. She grabbed Ra's phone and rushed to the subway station. On the way, she came up with a plan. She texted her sister, telling her to go to locker number 4 at the subway station to get the exam setting teacher's phone. I saw her sister enter the subway station with her own eyes. Then, she took Ra's phone and texted the senior, changing the transaction location to locker number 8. At this time, Solji had already arrived at locker number 4. The senior quickly told her to move to locker number 8. As soon as Solji left, the senior saw Jae-won's sister open locker number 4. The sister saw that there was no phone in the locker, and immediately ran out of the subway station. The senior suspected that Jae-won's sister was the seller, and followed her. Solji arrived at locker number 8, and Jae suddenly appeared, pulling her away to run. On the other side, the senior chased Jae-won's sister out of the subway station, and saw her being forced into an ambulance by 2 nurses. While he was feeling confused, he saw the ambulance with Jae's dad following behind. Scene change. Ever since he was little, the boy had been considered a weirdo in everyone's eyes. Just because of one family trip, a chance discovery changed his entire life. The security scanner went through the suitcase's shell, capturing the items inside. That magical scene left the boy stunned and speechless. From then on, the boy developed a strong passion for dissection. However, he was too young to be exposed to living bodies, so at every meal, the boy took action on the dishes made from animals. Gradually, the boy became skilled and immersed in the feeling of separating bone and flesh. Later, when he could debone a fish in less than a minute, the boy considered himself a genius. One day when the boy was on a picnic with his family, he suddenly saw a squirrel that had been run over lying on the road. The boy got out of the car and personally buried the squirrel on the side of the road. In the evening, the boy excitedly dug up the squirrel's body. That was the first time the boy had actually touched a living creature. Many years later, the boy became an excellent doctor. Today, while performing surgery, he unexpectedly discovered his young daughter watching, displaying the same talent he had years ago. The father was convinced that his young daughter had inherited his genes, because only a genius can understand a genius. That's right, the boy who was passionate about dissection back then was Jae-won's twisted father. After I successfully rescued Solji. On the subway, I confessed that it was Ra's trap. Solji just realized that she had narrowly escaped danger. She also honestly told Jae-won that she was forced by her senior to buy drugs. Afterward, the two returned to locker number 4. Jae saw that the drugs in the locker had disappeared, and she thought her sister had been arrested by the police. Solji was worried that her sister had been wrongly arrested, but Jae said that she deliberately lured her sister there to be caught by the police. Because her dad was always looking for her sister, getting caught was a way to avoid him. However, when they arrived at the police station, they discovered that Imna hadn't been arrested, meaning Imna had disappeared again. Luckily, Jae had installed a tracker on her sister's phone. She opened the tracker and saw that her sister was at home. But when Jae ran home, her sister's room was empty. She tried calling her sister, and the phone rang in the room. Jae went back into the room, saw the phone but not the person, only to find that the window had been opened at some point. As Jae was closing the window, her dad suddenly walked in, startling her. He told Jae-won that it was raining so hard and she didn't call him if she caught a cold. It would affect her studies. Her dad also reminded her to take a hot bath later and turned to leave. After her dad left the room, Jae opened the closet, and sure enough, Seolji's phone was gone. Jae was completely confused, not knowing where her sister had gone. Actually, Jae reported her sister to the police because she thought that was better than her falling into her dad's hands. It wasn't until the next day that Ra found out that Seolji hadn't been arrested. To protect herself, she anonymously posted a video online of Jae forcing her former deskmate to kneel in the bathroom, while also implying that Jae was the school drug lord. The video spread throughout the school, but Jae didn't seem to care. At this time, the police came to the school to investigate the drug dealing at the subway station the previous day. They released a surveillance video showing Na appearing at locker number 4. The police said that according to the informant's source, the girl in the surveillance video was from this school, and asked the students to identify her and find her. Jae quickly stood up and pointed out that the person in the surveillance video was her sister. The whole auditorium buzzed. Jae said that she had witnessed Na stealing drugs from her dad's hospital many times. On the day of the school festival, Na had sold drugs to Beom-soo at school, but after the festival, she disappeared. Jae begged the police to quickly find her sister and bring her to justice. The police followed Jae-won's statement to conduct an investigation, and the first person they investigated was, of course, Jae's dad, who was also Na's dad. Seolji was very curious why Jae had blamed her sister, Na. Jae said that doing so could not only clear Seolji's name, but also use the police force to find her sister. She pulled Seolji to the surveillance room, trying to find clues about her sister from the security cameras to provide to the police. Soon, Jae saw the surveillance video of her sister. However, what surprised her was that her sister had met Choi-yeon that night. Jae-won and Seolji immediately went to find Choi-yeon to ask about the content of the conversation. The two followed Choi-yeon, seeing her get on bus number 300. Seolji suddenly remembered that the last time she parted ways with Choi-yeon, she was very familiar with the route of bus number 300, and this bus route passed by her stepmother's house. Sure enough, Seolji found Choi-yeon panicking below the apartment building. From Choi-yeon's blackened hands, she guessed that the black threatening letter was sent by her. However, Seolji didn't say anything, and at this moment, Jae also arrived. The two blocked Choi-yeon and directly stated their purpose. Choi-yeon remained silent. Actually, that night, Na had asked her if she knew Seolji, the daughter of the exam-setting teacher. Choi-yeon, being smart, immediately realized that Na was involved in the medical lawsuit with the exam-setting teacher. Na didn't deny it, but quietly told Choi-yeon many details, and finally asked Choi-yeon to keep their conversation that night a secret. Therefore, Choi-yeon didn't reveal any information to Jae-won. Jae couldn't do anything to Choi-yeon either. At this time, Jae the first unexpectedly received a mysterious call. The person on the other end used a voice that had been altered, telling Jae that they knew Na's whereabouts. If Jae brought the drugs they needed to a bar, they would tell Jae where Na was. Knowing this, Seolji and Choi-yeon also wanted to go along. At that point, they could join forces to catch this mysterious person. Jae thought this was a great idea, so the three of them went to Jae-won's house to prepare thoroughly, and then went to the bar. Blending in, Jae followed the instructions and placed the drugs in the women's restroom. Seolji hid in the restroom, waiting for the person who came to get the drugs to appear. In case the other person had accomplices, Jae was in charge of observing from the second floor. Choi-yeon was a little curious. At the bar, she ordered a bottle of alcohol but didn't know how to open it. A woman next to her grabbed the bottle and helped her open it. Seolji was in the restroom, keeping watch over where Jae had placed the drugs. A few minutes later, a man wearing a red hat entered the restroom. Seolji stared at him. The man quickly walked out, looked at Seolji, gave a sinister smile, and left. After the man left, Seolji told Choi-yeon to go into the restroom and hide, while she and Jae would follow the man in the red hat. In the dim light, Seolji couldn't see the man's face clearly. Seolji hurried to follow, but there were too many people outside, and she got lost. Choi-yeon ran to the restroom to help, looking for the suspect according to the description. Jae found the man's trail again and hurried to follow. The man went up to the second floor. At this time, someone else entered that restroom. Choi-yeon grabbed the hose next to her. That person was opening the toilet lid. Choi-yeon glanced over and then sprayed water at that person. When Seolji reached the second floor, she discovered that Jae had been caught by the senior, and in the restroom, Choi-yeon also caught the person who came to get the drugs. But to her surprise, that person was Yi Ri. After Yi Ri was caught red-handed at the bar, the reason she came here was because her family went bankrupt. Because of her pride, she still continued to pretend to be rich at school. She herself was currently homeless, having to sleep in public bathrooms. Only ordinary people knew about this. Seulgi understood Yi Ri's situation and even went to comfort her, making Yi Ri feel guilty towards her. I was concerned about whether her dad had instigated this. Actually, ever since the attempt to steal Seulgi's phone failed, the deal between Yi Ri and Jaewon's dad had ended. In addition, on the day of the school festival, Beom-soo yelled that she had met Jaewon, making her unreasonably suspect that Jae-fir's dad had found her. As a result, during the day, Jae only needed to glare at Beom-soo to make her scared. From this, it could be deduced that Jae-fir's dad still hadn't found her sister, so he made up the lie about knowing where Imna was, simply wanting to scam some money. At this time, Seulgi was suspicious about why Jae-fir's dad was looking for her dad's phone. What secrets were hidden inside? But Jae chose to remain silent. The senior happened to be hanging out at the bar, and he recognized Jae-won. When he learned that the 4 kids were looking for Imna, he revealed a shocking piece of information. It turned out that on the night of the school festival, he had been bumped into by Imna. At first, he thought it was a boy, but when he left, he found the other person's fake ID. That's when he realized that Sojin not only knew Imna, but also sold her a fake ID. Also, the senior told Seulgi privately that in the afternoon, he saw Imna being taken away in an ambulance, and the situation at the time looked a lot like a kidnapping. Unexpectedly, Jae suddenly received bad news. Imna's body had been found by the police. The group went to the hospital run by Jaewon's dad. At this time, Jae's dad refused to let his daughter have an autopsy performed because he had discovered Imna's farewell note. That's right, the sister that the 4 kids had been struggling to find was dead. Strangely, the body was deformed to the point of being unrecognizable. It didn't look like she took her own life. The doctor's conclusion was that she had fallen from a high mountain and her head had hit a rock. There was one detail here. Seulgi saw that Imna's toenails were painted yellow. The next morning at school, Seulgi was constantly in a state of unease, thinking over and over, how could there be such a coincidence in the world? So Jin's toenails were also painted yellow. The students were buzzing. Was Imna's death a self-destruction or a murder? And some even suspected that Jae was the one who killed her sister. Seulgi got angry when she heard this. She directly threw balls repeatedly at them. Right at this moment, Ra came over and whispered a secret to her. Her dad's phone was still in Jaewon's possession. On the other side, due to the recent series of incidents at the school, in order to ensure the university acceptance rate, plus the fact that the top students in the school, Seulgi and Jaewon, were involved in the case, the homeroom teacher decided to support Choi Yan. But the prerequisite was that nothing could happen. Choi Yan didn't need to think twice and agreed. She went to the camera room, saw that it was deserted, and anxiously opened the video from 2 years ago. At that time, it was one day before the exam, and she sneaked into the classroom, then sat in Jaewon's seat and started to pleasure herself. After all, she was always second best. She could only do this. Suddenly, there was a light shining in from outside. Choi Yan was scared and quickly lay down. Luckily, the person who came in didn't notice her. She got up and hurried to hide, but accidentally saw Imna and the exam setting teacher in the room. Choi Yan was terrified and covered her mouth, not daring to make any sound, but out of curiosity. She still peeked through the crack in the door. This scene was clearly recorded by the camera, so she wanted to delete this part. Coincidentally, this action of hers was caught by Yi Ri, making Choi Yan's heart skip a beat. At the same time, Jae was running for her life in the forest. Then she was pulled back by someone's hand. Out of self-defense, Jae violently attacked the other person, until she realized that it was her sister. She also woke up from the nightmare, startled. At this time, Seulgi also came to her house. Jae finally told Seulgi the truth. Now Seulgi believed that her dad was, as rumored, a teacher who had an inappropriate relationship with a student. Seulgi said she had just heard from Yi Ri that Jae had her dad's phone. Seulgi was suspicious about how Jae could have cracked the passcode, as she herself had tried everything and couldn't unlock it. Jae said that the passcode was the date Seulgi was lost. Seulgi looked helpless when she heard this. Jae explained that the phone had been lost. Seulgi angrily started rummaging through things. Unexpectedly, Jae suddenly hugged her from behind. All along, she had always thought that her sister might kill her, but in the dream last night, she herself had attacked her sister. And in the dream, seeing her sister dead, she could be strangely calm. Previously, Jae really hoped her sister would be arrested by the police. That way, everyone would have a chance to live. Sol-ji could completely understand that Jae did all of this to save her. But faced with the sudden death of her sister, Jae was still incredibly sad. Sol-ji listened and hugged Jae tightly. She also apologized for messing up the room. On the other hand, although Yi-ri had deleted Choi-yeon's surveillance video from that night, she was surprised. She clearly knew about the relationship between Seol-ji and Seol-ji's dad for a long time, but she could hold back and not say anything. At the same time, Sol-ji suddenly remembered the day she was bullied. Sister So-jin suggested getting a tattoo over the wound to cover it up, because she also had a burn scar on her leg, exactly the same as the wound on Im-na's body. At this time, Seol-ji's mind was very confused, suspecting that Im-na wasn't actually dead. She tried to find useful clues on So-jin's social media account, and sure enough, she found a drug rehab center, and she was told by So-jin's roommate that, after her condition improved, she had moved to a motel called Magnolia. On the other side, Yi-ri and Choi-yeon, following the clue provided by Byung-soo, found a piece of paper under the nameplate in the lab. The content on it was a key and the room number 209. That night, Seol-ji went to the motel. She wanted to find room 208, but the owner told her that the tenant of room 208 had passed away a month ago. But strangely, the rent and the debts to the surrounding businesses were all paid off by someone who looked like a thug. Seol-ji was about to leave when she bumped into Yi-ri and Choi-yeon, who had come to investigate. Just like that, the three kids opened room 209 next to room 208. As soon as they entered the room, they discovered that the walls were covered with solutions to difficult math problems, like a perfect masterpiece of a madman. There was also a locked diary on the desk. Seol-ji then picked the lock, just like Im-na had done in the teacher's office 2 years before. Inside the diary, Im-na described in detail the death of Seol-ji's father, along with a missing child poster. From before until now, Im-na was always obsessed with her father, afraid he would abandon her, and she believed the reason all came from her younger sister, Jae-won. Im-na was also scared when she looked into her younger sister's dark, cold eyes. Jae-won's face always looked like she was mocking her older sister, because she knew everything, which really haunted Im-na. The feeling of being an older sister, but being inferior to her younger sister, was terrible for Im-na. She always wanted to defeat Jae to win back her father's love. Then one day, Mr. Taejun found out about the relationship between Im-na and teacher Do-hyuk. Surprisingly, he didn't blame Im-na at all. Instead, he praised his daughter, but behind that were dark and sinister plots. Mr. Taejun used that video to threaten teacher Do-hyuk, forcing him to steal the upcoming college entrance exam for Im-na. Moreover, Mr. Taejun also found out that teacher Do-hyuk had a missing daughter, and he promised to help him find her. Back home, teacher Do-hyuk didn't want his wife to keep searching for Seol-ji anymore. She didn't understand why, but she insisted on finding her husband's daughter from a previous relationship. At that time, she angrily left the house and accidentally bumped into Im-na, dropping the missing child poster, which is how Im-na got it. The next day, Ms. Jong was unexpectedly removed from the college entrance exam committee because she was accused of breaking the confidentiality agreement. It was certain that Mr. Taejun was involved. The person replacing her was none other than teacher Do-hyuk. While he was on his way to the exam committee, he received a message from Mr. Taejun. He revealed that he had found his missing daughter. Teacher Do-hyuk tried to get out of the car, but was immediately stopped by the committee members. When he arrived, Mr. Taejun continued to send the intimate video with Im-na to teacher Do-hyuk, along with a threat that his daughter probably wouldn't want to see this, right? At this point, teacher Do-hyuk couldn't back out anymore. He had started down this path, so he had to see it through. While the exam committee was discussing, teacher Do-hyuk tried to memorize the most difficult questions. Afterward, he went to the bathroom, wrote them down on a small piece of paper, put it in a plastic container, and then swallowed it all to get past everyone. Outside, teacher Do-hyuk collapsed from the excruciating pain in his stomach. Immediately, he was taken to Mr. Taejun's hospital. Here, Mr. Taejun had prepared everything according to the original plan. He performed surgery to retrieve the exam from teacher Do-hyuk's stomach. What's more, the assistant was none other than his daughter, Im-na. Back in the present, Im-na's encoffining ceremony was about to take place. At this time, Jae left to go to the morgue. Seeing this, Seol-ji followed her. There, Seol-ji said that this body wasn't Im-na's, that she knew this, and did her older sister's leg have a scar like this? This was her older sister, So-jin, from the orphanage. After she died, no one bothered to look for her body, so she was brought to her father's hospital, and what's more, so Jin lived right next door to her older sister. Even knowing this, Ji pushed Soo Jin's body into the crematorium to replace her sister. She believed that if her father's plan was to make Im-na appear dead, then he should just be allowed to continue committing more sins. If we ruin Im-na's funeral, my father will definitely come up with another plan. For now, we have to keep it a secret from him that we know the truth. Seolji also revealed that she had read all of Im-na's diary. She wrote very specifically about Seolji's father's death, so she needed to find evidence. Hearing this, Ji had to help Seolji do this. She disguised Seolji as a medical staff member and gave her an access card to her father's office. Right after, Ji went to the hospital surveillance room to turn off the cameras recording Seolji. At the same time, the security guard came in and recognized Jae-won. She made the excuse that her mother told her to turn off all the cameras so the VIP guests wouldn't be seen, until her sister's encoffining ceremony was over. After finishing, Ji immediately returned to Im-na's funeral. On this side, Seolji had broken into Mr. Taejun's office. Here she saw a remote control. She pressed it, and a transparent glass door appeared, allowing a view below. At this point, Seolji suddenly remembered what Im-na had written in her diary. The room below is where Im-na solved the questions taken from teacher Do-hyuk's stomach, while above, Mr. Taejun supervised. At that time, Jae the first unexpectedly entered, so Im-na immediately hid the questions. Jae offered to help her sister with her homework, but Im-na became very angry and repeatedly chased her younger sister out. Seeing her father watching from above, Im-na told herself that she absolutely must not cry, because he would never give gifts to children like that. Right after, Seolji texted Jae-won, asking if there was any gift that Im-na wanted to receive. Jae thought that she was very similar to her father, so she paid attention to anniversaries, like Christmas or birthdays. On this shelf, there were many CDs arranged by date. Seol-ji took one out to look at it. She was stunned when these CDs were printed with X-ray images of patients. She then looked for one before the date of last year's college entrance exam, which was also the day her father died. Seolji was horrified when inside was an X-ray of her father. It still had the imprint of the plastic container containing the exam questions. Seolji played this CD. It was even more disgusting when it was Im-na's favorite song. It was a kind of sickness that Mr. Taejun had created. He seemed to want to mock the body of the person he had murdered. Seolji was now truly filled with extreme hatred for that man. Immediately, Seolji grabbed a knife with the intention of stabbing this sick man. But before she could act, her stepmother suddenly stopped her. Before that, she already knew everything. She found it strange that Im-na kept lurking around her house. And moreover, there were those letters sent to her husband, so full of affection. After her husband suddenly died, she received many suggestive letters. An anonymous person sent them, with content like, "Don't you want to know how your husband died?" And more recently, that person revealed that Im-na was dead. Back to the present, the stepmother didn't want Seolji to act so impulsively, as she was also looking for evidence to incriminate Mr. Taejun. Outside, the stepmother revealed to Seolji that him framing her for stealing medicine was just to force her to compromise. But how could she compromise with him? At the same time, Seolji saw the senior was also here. She immediately went to him to talk. Seolji asked, "You know the person inside is Soo Jin, right? I know about you paying for her room and her debts." He admitted that he came to see Soo Jin off. Being carried in a hearse filled with flowers was good too, and that she should try to think positively. But actually, he came here because he had a deal with Mr. Taejun, knowing everything behind it. Right after, Seolji showed the X-ray of her father to Choi Yeon's lawyer mother, but she said that it still couldn't be used as evidence. You may think that what's inside is the college entrance exam, but your father didn't die from being cut open to take it out. They will say it was medical malpractice for not clearly informing the family about the patient's condition. There's too little basis to charge him with murder. The operating room doesn't have security cameras, so Na would have to testify. But unfortunately, the last witness is no longer in this world. Right after, Seolji's stepmother took out the letters that the mysterious person had sent. She said that this person knew about Im-na's relationship with her husband from the beginning, and this person might have been in the operating room or the exam setting area. Choi Yeon was about to stand up and admit that she sent them all, but her mother immediately stopped her. She said that even if they found the sender, it would be very difficult to convince them to testify in court. Back home, Choi Yeon knew very well that her mother didn't care about these unprofitable medical lawsuits, but she still tried to appear to be a good lawyer. With her child too, her mother always appeared to be a good and responsible mother. "Aren't you curious why I know about teacher Do-hyuk and Im-na?" That day I went to school to masturbate, because I felt like I would be less anxious if I masturbated in the classroom before the exam. And then I accidentally saw teacher, Do Hyuk and Imna. I really wanted to tell someone about this, but I was afraid people would ask why I was at school at that hour. I just wanted Ji to fail miserably. If it weren't for her, I would have been first place. When I met Imna at the festival, I also told her that I knew everything. If she didn't tell, I would. But then she died at this time. Choi Yeon's mother said that Imna's death had nothing to do with her, and neither did teacher Do Hyuk's. She would absolutely not have to go to court, and absolutely must not breathe a word to anyone. Meanwhile, Yi Ri was selling drugs to a woman at a karaoke bar. After receiving the money, she immediately went to a street vendor. At the same time, the senior was also there. Yi Ri took out a USB drive from her pocket, containing a recording of Solji's conversation. The two of them were discussing using it to bargain with Mr. Taejun for some money. Yi Ri gave it to the senior so he could go meet him. A short time later, the senior and Mr. Taejun were at the meeting point. He gave the USB drive to Mr. Taejun and demanded that he keep his promise from before. In the distance, Solji was secretly watching the two of them. Ji also unexpectedly showed up, so she immediately pulled Solji into hiding, afraid of being discovered. Right after, Solji revealed to Jaewon that what she said earlier was a lie. Before, she had called Jaewon and said that she had found a torn piece in Imna's diary. Imna had recorded a video in the operating room. We need to find it before it falls into your father's hands. At that time, Seolji knew very well that Yi Ri was behind her eavesdropping, so she lied like that. Now that Mr. Taejun had taken the bait, Seolji wanted to exploit that weakness. At the same time, she really wanted Ji to help her with this. The next day, the two of them went to Mr. Taejun's office. Seolji would play the role, searching for the video that Imna had recorded, and Ji would stand above to film Seolji. Ji also placed cameras everywhere her father might go, from his office at the hospital to the car he drove. Even more cleverly, she had secretly placed a camera on the dog's collar. Ji opened it to watch, and inside was a conversation between her parents. Here, Ji, I learned that her older sister Imna was not yet dead, and was being locked up by her father somewhere. She also learned that tomorrow, her mother would go there to visit her. Right after, Jaewon and Solji met with Choi Yeon to borrow her car. Tomorrow, the two of them would follow Jaewon's mother to see where Imna was. At the same time, I wanted Choi Yeon to send a message to her mother, tomorrow. Imna could testify in court. Early the next morning, Jaewon and Solji set off to follow her mother. She went very far outside the city, making both of them extremely nervous. At the same time, Mr. Taejun's trial was also taking place. Choi Yeon's mother said that on the day Mr. Do Hyuk died, there was a witness with Mr. Taejun in the operating room. We can't reveal it beforehand to ensure the witness's safety. After hearing this, the judge accepted the new witness and adjourned the trial for a few minutes. Meanwhile, Mr. Taejun didn't show any sign of being worried. On this side, Ji's mother unexpectedly went to an orphanage. Arriving here, both of them realized that they had been tricked, and Imna couldn't possibly be here. Solji immediately informed her stepmother that she couldn't bring Imna, while Ji was extremely annoyed at being tricked. When the two of them returned, Mr. Taejun's trial had just ended. Because there was no witness, he was found not guilty. Solji then told her stepmother everything, and she sensed that Jaewon's mother seemed to be mocking her when she took pictures with the orphans. The stepmother immediately said that it seemed she was trusting Ji too much, and that they seemed to know about their plan in advance. Throughout the trial, Mr. Taejun didn't show any uneasiness at all, as if he knew they could never bring Imna. But Solji still wholeheartedly trusted her friend, Jaewon. On this side, Mr. Taejun took Ji somewhere that wasn't the way home, and then he showed his daughter a video, having secretly placed a camera in Solji's stepmother's car beforehand. In it, she questioned, why was Imna in the operating room? Mr. Taejun only needed to give her the exam questions. Right at that moment, the car unexpectedly lost control and crashed straight into a car parked on the side of the road. Fortunately, neither of them was hurt. Witnessing this scene through the camera made Ji first very distraught. And of course, the person who wanted to assassinate Seolji and her mother was none other than Mr. Taejun. He asked Jaewon, do you want to know why your sister was in the operating room that day? Then he took Ji to the place where Imna was being held, a secluded house deep in the forest. Here, Ji was stunned when she saw Imna in this state. She was like a lunatic and didn't remember anyone. Ji took her sister, Imna, outside, but the alarm at the door kept ringing continuously, which made Imna very panicked. Ji immediately asked Mr. Taejun what he had done to her sister, but he said that he hadn't done anything. and that she should ask her sister that question. Then he told Ji that the person who killed teacher Do-hyuk was Im-na. In the operating room, Im-na had injected him with a drug that made him stop breathing. Im-na wanted to please her father and thought that doing so would make him happy. Ji said that he was lying and that she didn't believe Im-na would do such a thing. He immediately said that if there really was camera footage in the operating room, he would really like her to see it so that he could also prove his innocence. He was too tired of the things that her sister had caused. And Im-na was also too tired. So he had helped her erase some of her memories. In response, Ji said that he shouldn't say that he had worked so hard for her sister, and that he simply couldn't accept the fact that he had given birth to a failed child. Mr. Tae-jun angrily grabbed Jae-won and pinned her against the wall, then said that he was doing these things for her. He didn't want the dirty things that her sister had done to affect the efforts that she had put in all this time. I gave a scornful smile at those words, and then she replied that she was different from Im-na, and she would become the daughter that her father could be proud of. On this side, the car repairman discovered that the tire wasn't worn down naturally, and that someone had intentionally slashed the tire. The stepmother knew who did it, but she hid this from Seol-ji. She revealed that the tires were old and had just deflated, and that she knew this car was no longer safe, so she wanted to get rid of it. The next day, Seol-ji didn't see Ji at school, so she asked the teacher. The teacher said that Ji was sick, so she couldn't attend school temporarily. Seol-ji sensed that something was wrong, so she called Jae-won first, but there was no answer. She went to the places they both usually went to, but she didn't see Ji anywhere. Seol-ji even went to her house and knocked on the door, but no one answered. Right after, she went to the hospital to find Jae-won, but she was stopped by the medical staff. Choi-yeon opened the door, and Seol-ji saw Ji studying in a group there, but everyone acted cold and ignored her. A short time later, Seol-ji happily ran over when she saw Ji coming down, but she told her not to come near her. Ji seemed to have turned into a different person. Meanwhile, Seol-ji kept asking about her when she heard that her best friend was sick. In response, Ji said, "How did you get first place with that terrible brain? Don't you understand why I'm friends with you? From the beginning, I knew everything about Im-na. The problem she solved the day before appeared on the college entrance exam. When I saw your name in Im-na's file, I was even more certain that teacher Do-hyuk had secretly given her the exam questions. And your transferring schools was the price of this deal. Do you know how happy I was to see my father see you as a thorn in his side and torment you? Did you really think I was on your side? Just think about it. From selling drugs to stealing teacher Do-hyuk's phone, I did it all, not my father. There were occasionally dangerous moments that made me afraid that you would discover it. But luckily, you are too easily deceived. But anyway, thank you for making me very happy. Your family will never be able to beat my family, so never go looking for Im-na again." Seol-ji was truly stunned by what Ji said, but she didn't know that those were lies. Ji did that to discourage Seol-ji and make her stop, because if she continued to confront her father, Seol-ji would definitely be in danger. Many days went by, and Seol-ji had to study for her final exams. Around this time, her medication ran out, so she couldn't concentrate. Seol-ji chose to stop taking the medication altogether. She had to face the reality of her true abilities, and her ambition to get into medical school started to fade. That day, the final exams took place, and Seol-ji was drenched in sweat because of the pressure. The result of not taking her medication made it really hard for Seol-ji to answer the questions. The results of this exam had a lot of surprises. Seol-ji dropped to 20th place, Ji fell to 5th place, and most surprisingly, Choi-yeon jumped to 1st place. While Mr. Tae-jun was burning Im-na's record and diary, Ji showed her dad the ranking from the recent exam. She apologized for not getting 1st place, but he didn't care anymore. She surprisingly asked her dad to turn her into a na. She wanted her dad to get her the super hard questions for the university entrance exam. When Seol-ji got home, she saw that her stepmother had bought a new car, and she felt suspicious. She found out that she had given up on suing Mr. Tae-jun. Seol-ji, furious, went to her room to check, but she couldn't find the insurance contract. She figured her stepmother had made a deal with Mr. Tae-jun. Her stepmother said she was just too tired and didn't want to be disappointed by Seol-ji's father anymore. But Seol-ji still believed that from the very beginning, she did it all for the money. Choi-yeon was extremely excited about being in 1st place this time. She finally beat Jae-won after years of being the runner-up. Right after, her mom asked Choi-yeon to go to the temple with her to pray for good luck in the upcoming university entrance exam. But Choi-yeon wasn't superstitious like that, because there was a reason behind that amazing result. That night, Yi-ri met up with the senior to buy the miracle drug. There, she told him about the rankings from the recent exam. The senior wasn't too surprised to hear that Choi Yan had reached the top spot, because she had been secretly buying the miracle drug from him for a while. Meanwhile, Seolji, holding a rock in her hand, went to Imna's columbarium. She suddenly smashed the glass case to take out the ashes. Immediately, security guards found her and arrested her. A little later, Mr. Tae-jun showed up. Seolji dared him to sue her. He didn't want any more trouble, so he made an offer. Mr. Tae-jun promised to help Seolji get the hard questions for the university entrance exam. He was planning to use Seolji to help Jae-won achieve this. That night, Seolji met up with Jae-won after she had been avoiding her for days. There, Seolji revealed that her dad said he would give her the super hard questions. Jae wanted her friend to cancel that offer, but Seolji wanted to know why. Jae didn't say a word, which really upset Seolji. Seolji suddenly climbed onto a diving board to jump, even though she didn't know how to swim. In front of Jae-won's panicked face, Jae immediately jumped in to save her friend. After getting to the shore, Jae had to give Seolji CPR, and then she woke up again. Seolji smiled, knowing that she was still important to Jae-won. She also knew full well that Jae-won intentionally messed up the final exam and asked her dad for the super hard questions, because that's how Jae could get revenge on her dad. In response, Jae said, "You know that, so why do you still want the hard questions?" Seolji said she couldn't just stand by and watch when Jae wanted to ruin her own life just to get at her dad. "Just keep looking down on me like you used to. Just use me to get the super hard questions. This is the only way to get the questions and the evidence to incriminate him." Back home, Jae immediately asked her dad if it was true that he would give Seolji the hard questions. He didn't hesitate to reveal that he wanted to use Seolji as a stepping stone for Jae-won. Mr. Tae-jun was sure that Seolji would easily accept the offer, because anyone would want to go to university to have a chance to change their life. Jae wanted her dad to lay out a specific plan and gather all the evidence. If the theft of the exam questions was exposed, Seolji would be the only one to take the blame. The next day, Seolji met with Mr. Tae-jun because she had accepted the offer. He gave her a file that had been investigated about a teacher at the school, someone who held a position on the university entrance exam committee. Inside were pieces of evidence that he had accepted bribes. This would be a test of her sincerity in this collaboration. Immediately, Seolji went to see the teacher and showed him the file. At the same time, Mr. Tae-jun's people were secretly taking pictures of them both. The teacher looked at what was inside, completely stunned. He immediately asked Seolji what she really wanted. That day, Choi Yan had an interview with the university she wanted to attend. At this point, Choi Yan was extremely tense and nervous, so she had to go to the bathroom to reduce stress. The groaning sounds were so loud that people outside could hear her and started laughing. After dealing with it, Choi Yan rushed to the interview room, her clothes disheveled, which surprised the proctor. The next day, Seolji was handing out university application forms to the students in her class. At that time, Jae was out, so Seolji went down to her desk to give it to her. There, she was surprised to see Jae-won's note that said 92 days left, while the university entrance exam was only 70 days away, which really made her wonder. Later, Choi Yan received the results of her interview, and she had failed. Choi Yan didn't understand why, when she had reduced tension and was using the drug, she still couldn't pass. She wondered if the senior's drug was fake. Meanwhile, Yi-ri received a text message ordering the miracle drug from someone, because she was so curious. After placing the miracle drug at the transaction point, Yi-ri secretly watched to see who it was. A little later, Choi Yan came to get it, and was caught red-handed by Yi-ri. Yi-ri snatched the miracle drug, which made Choi Yan extremely angry. Choi Yan immediately cursed at Yi-ri, calling her a bar girl. Recently, a picture of Yi-ri taken at a bar was also spreading on social media. Yi-ri, furious, asked Choi Yan if she was the one who spread the rumor. Choi Yan said, "I don't live by exposing other people's secrets like you do." Yi-ri advised Choi Yan not to think she could beat Jae anymore. If you want your tutoring secret to be safe, you should shut your mouth. At the same time, Seolji was also there, and wanted to know what secret they were both talking about. But neither of them revealed anything. Back in class, Seolji saw a lot of dog hair on Choi Yan's legs. Curious, she went to Choi Yan's house that night. There, Seolji was surprised to see Jae's dog at Choi Yan's house. She asked, and Choi Yan revealed that Jae promised to tutor her secretly, on the condition that she took care of her dog. Putting together all of Jae-won's strange behavior lately made Seolji feel like something was off, so she ran to the pool where her friend Jae often hung out. There, Seolji saw Jae-won standing on the diving board. She thought Jae was going to do something reckless, but no, Jae slowly stepped down. To Solji's relief, because she knew her dad was always watching her, Jae didn't say anything to Solji. She wrote on the glass, switched to plan B. Earlier, Jae sensed that her dad was up to some other scheme. Something not as simple as last year's exam theft. Besides the bribe teacher, he also sent a medical staff member along. After realizing that plan A was unlikely to succeed, Jae first told Solji to back out. She wanted to do the rest herself. The reason Jae sent the dog to Choi Yan was because she knew her dad had put a tracking camera on its collar, and the 92 days note was the date for the results of this plan. Jae, I didn't need the hard questions to easily pass the university entrance exam, based on her own abilities, but those questions were key to incriminating her father. Jae also revealed that the pills she gave Solji before were just vitamins. Hearing this, Solji broke into a happy smile. That day, Solji unexpectedly met up with the senior. She knew he was the one who slashed her stepmother's tires. He also admitted to doing it, because Mr. Tae-jun promised to pay him a lot of money. There, Solji proposed a deal that would help him earn a huge amount of money, selling the university entrance exam questions to wealthy parents. That very night, the senior contacted them, and just from the deposit to buy the questions, he brought back a bag full of money. One day before the university entrance exam took place, the teacher who was bribed by Mr. Tae-jun had the questions in hand. While he was playing soccer, he pretended to be injured and was taken to the committee's medical room. After going inside, he gave the questions to the medical staff member. She was the one Mr. Tae-jun had planted. Following Mr. Tae-jun's orders, she changed to a different plan that the teacher didn't know about. She created a real wound on the teacher's leg and told the committee members to call the hospital to bring painkillers. A little later, Mr. Tae-jun brought the painkillers to the committee. The medical staff member slipped the stolen questions into his pocket. On the way back, Mr. Tae-jun told the driver to go faster. Surprisingly, the people in the car were actually the senior and Yi-ri, who had previously stolen the car. After taking Mr. Tae-jun to a deserted area, the senior made him get out of the car. And at the same time, Jae suddenly appeared. The senior told Seol-ji to take the exam questions from Mr. Tae-jun's pocket, while Jae kept telling Seol-ji to give her the questions. After thinking for a moment, Seol-ji suddenly swallowed all of them. Jae slowly approached, apologized, and then drugged Seol-ji. Immediately, Seol-ji was taken to Mr. Tae-jun's hospital, but he didn't want to operate to get them out. At this point, Jae had to operate herself to get the exam questions. A little later, she successfully got them out. Jae hadn't even finished reading them when the senior snatched them. Outside, there were many parents waiting to get the questions for their children, including Choi Yan and Yi-ri. Inside, Mr. Tae-jun now gave Jae the real exam questions. The ones the senior just took were fake. He knew everything in advance and had prepared to this extent. The next day, the university entrance exam took place. Yi-ri and Choi Yan were shocked, because the questions they had bought were completely different from the real exam. Meanwhile, Jae didn't need those questions. She still easily did well on the exam. Meanwhile, Seol-ji woke up in the hospital. By this time, the university entrance exam was over, and she had missed it. 3 weeks passed, and the results of the university entrance exam were out. Unsurprisingly, Jae achieved perfect scores in all subjects. Reporters were present in large numbers, ready to interview her. Just then, Seol-ji walked into the classroom, dazed, then packed her bag and left, to everyone's astonishment. That night, Jae went to the secret house where Amna was being held, and she told her sister, "Let's go to kindergarten." Jae washed Amna's face, just like she had done for her when she was little. She surprisingly put a life jacket and a woolen hat on Amna. Right after, the two of them stepped out onto the balcony, where Jae had set up a camera to livestream the scene. Jae hugged her sister, and then jumped into the deep river. At the same time, Mr. Tae-jun was having an interview at the TV station. Everyone there watched Jae video, stunned. The news of Jae jumping into the river was also broadcast live on television. Throughout that night, the rescue team went to search for the victims. As the sky turned bright, the rescue team found one person, but it was only Amna. Her younger sister, Jae was still missing. Standing on the shore, Seol-ji couldn't help but worry about her best friend. She cried her eyes out and kept calling Jae name in vain. Seol-ji truly regretted not knowing about Jae-won's plan sooner. Previously, Jae had secretly placed a camera in the operating room. Everything was recorded, and Mr. Tae-jun was suspected of stealing the university entrance exam questions for the past 2 years. Furthermore, he was also suspected of eliminating teacher Do-hyuk Mr. Taejun was immediately arrested by the police for investigation. Reporters asked many questions, but he only said one sentence: "I will look for you until I find your body." 6 months had passed, but the reporters and journalists still hadn't stopped coming to Solji's house for interviews, but she just stayed inside and didn't show herself. Meanwhile, the police found Jae-won's body, but Mr. Taejun didn't think it was his daughter. Yi-ri had now switched to honest work. She was working part-time at a restaurant and was thinking about what she would do next. Choi-yeon found the right major for herself and entered law school. She was so focused on her studies that she didn't want to date anyone yet, even though she may be interested. Mr. Taejun was released after the police didn't have enough evidence to charge him. Every day, he stood in front of Solji's mother's house, rain or shine. He really wanted to see Solji and wanted to know if Jae was still alive. Another 6 months passed quickly, and Solji was still diligently studying for the upcoming university entrance exam, while constantly remembering her friend Jae-won. One day before the university entrance exam, Solji heard the doorbell ring. She ran to see and found a gift box there. Inside was a new pair of shoes, a keychain that she had given to Jae-won, and a picture of a distant seaside. Solji smiled when she saw these things. She knew that her friend Jae was still alive. She was at that seaside, waiting for her best friend Solji to join her. The movie ended here. If you liked it, please give me a like and subscribe. Goodbye and see you in the next movie.